When I left Kingston College in 1975, my first radio job, by the way, was an interviewee job. I used to go on the streets of Jamaica and ask people questions. Do you remember RGR had a program called Road Beat?
You're listening there to the voice of Barry G, the Boogeyman. Barrington Gordon is his real name, but I'm sure you know him as Barry G or the Boogeyman. And I know a whole heap going on in Jamaica right now, but I had to stop just for a minute to pay tribute to Barry G, who has died at the age of 70. Barry G was one of Jamaica's most iconic and talented broadcasters. Want to know your memories of him as well? All right. So comment below on that. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Thank you so much for joining me. It's time for tea. So growing up, before there were the 1,000,001 channels that there are now in all kinds of media, Barry G stood out. He was a shining star in Jamaican radio. Trust me when I tell you, going home after school, one of the big things was to be listening to the Barry G show to hear what was coming, what he was coming with. He was so brilliant. I mean, his shows were fantastic. The Barry G show, it was just tremendously entertaining. It had all of these fun features, quizzes, bits of trivia. You know, all kinds of information you learned on that particular program. And of course, his encyclopedic knowledge of Jamaican music. You know, Barry G really was the best of what radio can be and should be. Informative, engaging, entertaining. I was privileged to interview Barry G in 2020, and you can catch a full interview for a few days on the Radio Jamaica app or on onespotmedia.com. And of course, I wanted to know how he got his start in Jamaican radio.
I left Kingston College in 1975.
You are part of the purple and white cult.
Yes, purple-hearted, 40 scattery, cedary, non-protest. The brave may fall, but never yield.
Okay, there you go, folks, in case you doubted it. Okay, so you left KC?
Yes, 1975. And I knew I was interested in radio, funny enough. There were only two radio stations broadcasting in Jamaica then, JBC and RGR, which was number one. And RGR lured me away from JBC in can't remember the year.
No, man, not reach RGR yet, man. May I try to find out more about how you started with JBC. So how did you get taken on? Because you just don't leave high school.
I left high school.
Right, and these were coveted places to work.
Bro, let me say it another way. I left Kingston College, KC.
Right.
We had to push that in.
That's okay.
40 scattered, said with non-protest. So in those days, there were only two radio stations, and RGR had another entity where they played only music, and JBC had another entity where they played only music.
Yes.
That was JBC Radio 2. So we had JBC Radio 1 and JBC Radio 2.
Right.
So in total, in that era when I came into radio in 1975, there were only 4 radio stations in Jamaica.
Wow, it's even hard to think of that. But who allowed you, who gave you your first shot on radio? On air, I should say.
It was Uriel Aldridge. You remember that name?
I do.
A fine radio voice. He was powerful on JBC. And I got my first show on a Saturday night known as Boogie Down. So I mentioned that one of the hallmarks of Barry G's programs always had been the knowledge he imparted. You just always learn so much, so many interesting bits of information about all kinds of things in the world when you listen to his programs. That's part of what made his program so much fun to listen to. And in fact, the principal of Old Harbour High Linton Ware shared with me. He said, my recollection of him is that as young girls and boys, he enrolled us in university. Radio was my university. He was the best. And when Barry explained how he got started in radio and his first job on radio, I think that helped to explain as well his lifelong interest in news and imparting information. When I left Kingston College in 1975, my first radio job, by the way, was an interviewee job. I used to go on the streets of Jamaica and ask people questions. Do you remember RGR had a program called Road Beat?
Yes.
That program was for 5 minutes every morning.
Yes, one of the original Vox Pop programs.
Right, the Vox Pop program where they went on the street with a question of the day. Well, I copied that idea, and JBC's program to RJR's program, Roadbeat. JBC's program was called Soapbox.
Yes.
So we would choose a topic for the day, go on the street, go back in the studio, edit everything. So I'm more rounded a broadcaster than just talking, if you know what I mean.
Yes, so that was fun for you?
It was fun because I had to choose a topic, go on the road and get the answers from people on the streets, get back into the studio, edit it, make sure there was everything fit for airplay in that recording. So I had wonderful years starting as a broadcaster.
And of course, editing in those days was not computer editing. That's reel to reel with tape, splicing tape.
Splicing tape, sitting down and listening.
With your razor blade.
Listen, I'm wondering if today's children in radio can do editing as I learned, as I did back in the day.
No, man, but then they would say, no, man, an old-time business that. Okay, so you're doing Soapbox. So how did it come now that you got that chance to actually be on air? So how did you make that leap, in other words?
I'm remembering now. I was very good at Soapbox. I did that for 1 year, and they felt I was on-air worthy. My phrase.
Nice. So your Saturday night program now?
So I did Soapbox, which was to meet people. It really taught me how people articulated themselves and all. While I did a Saturday night show called Boogie Down, and that was where the radio side of me came into play. I ended up with Turntable Time, another music program during the week at 8 o'clock every evening, and then on a Saturday night, I was more noted for the Boogie Down show. And after 1 year, JBC really opened me up all over the place.
It's funny the kind of things that stick in your mind. And one of the things I remember about Barry G's show, yes, this is just a random bit of information here. For a few days, he had the whole country talking because he was asking if we knew how to pronounce GHOTI. All right, so there was a whole heap of talk about that and everybody guessing all kinds of things. Finally, he told us it's pronounced fish. How? The GH, he said, was pronounced like F, like the GH in tough. The O, he said, was pronounced like an I in women. And the TI, he said, was pronounced sh, like the TI in nation. And of course, the whole point was just to say how really difficult and interesting and funny the English language was. Barry G also said he saw the Gleaner newspaper as competition and he was always setting out to beat the Gleaner.
I had to produce radio to be ahead of the newspapers. In other words, the way newspapers write their headlines and carry their stories, I insisted that the news department at RGR helped me to put news on the radio that people don't even bother to wait for the newspapers to read, if you understand. So RJR became really number one when I joined them. They were already number one, but a
lot of people would say, but you're a disc jockey, you do entertainment. Why are you worrying about the news?
And while I was at JBC, I always respected the news arm of JBC, their ability to cover news, carry news, where the newspapers would follow RJR the following day. That's the reality of how radio was in Jamaica back in the day.
In addition, this was, of course, before the days of the internet, but your program was chock full of so much information. Where you used to get it from?
I had to find a way, which still remains a secret. The newspaper with a headline the following day. I would carry on, My first show was called Turntable Time, 8 o'clock in the evening on JBC. And then on a Saturday night, this was a bigger show, Boogie Down, which was from 8 o'clock in the evening to 2 o'clock the following morning. That was a long show. Many people had to read in those days. So for me to be vibrant, for me to be selling myself and be of any worth, I had to remember that the Gleaner was the #1 radio station. And they had the Star in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I had to carry information and try to beat the Gleaner. You follow me?
Yes, but where you get it from, that's what I'm asking. Where you get it from?
That was the journalistic side of me. I remember clearly. Yes. I was really interested in working at a newspaper station. Then it was the Gleaner and RGR. That was even before the Daily News.
One of the things I admired about him was the way he moved from station to station and his audience would move with him.
My delivery was influenced by what RGR was doing.
Really?
Yes, seriously. I had to try to outdo RGR, which was #1. And so the survey finally came out where RGR was #1, but when Barry G went on JBC, JBC was #1. Seriously, that's how it was.
That must have been a huge moment.
Yes, very, very inspirational for me. It meant a lot for me to think that I delivered my radio show and big RGR. I pulled the listeners over to JBC when I went on the air. When I was at JBC, I was #1, but RGR was always #1. So when I got a contract to be at RGR, trust me, JBC no good again.
And of course, I had to ask as well about the nickname, the Boogeyman.
The theme of my show was from Kool and the Gang, I'm Your Boogeyman. That was the theme for my show. Boogie down. I'm your Boogeyman, that's what I am.
Barry G's shows were a masterpiece in radio. Some people are just supremely good at what they do, and Barry G was one of them. He inspired a generation of young people to go into radio, to want to become disc jockeys. And, you know, a lot of times you could hear his influence in their radio voices until they developed their own style because, you know, he was the one they were looking to. He was just the huge inspiration. He will always be one of our radio greats. Share your comments below, right? Share your memories of Barry G. Remember, as always, be civil. Like the video, share it with somebody you think might be interested, and subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell if you have not yet done so. And remember, you can listen to the full interview for the next few days on the Radio Jamaica app or on onespotmedia.com. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Back to my tea.